Today we're interviewing Stefon Bristol with his film See You Yesterday. Stefon, I think we're going to start with you as a person and both where you grew up and how you kind of found your love for film.
Born and raised here in Brooklyn, New York. The Republic of Brooklyn, the center of the universe. I grew up with Coney Island to West Indian parents. I'm Guyanese by heritage, and you know, my parents are very, how would you say, sheltered. They shelter me a lot. So usually, when
were
my
you
friends,
an only child?
No, I was the youngest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was the youngest of two. I have older siblings. One is like 42, the other one is 38. And so they already moved on with their lives. And so, when I'm sheltered home, I just watch a lot of movies. Yeah. And when I saw Jurassic Park, that was like...
That was the one.
That was one of them. But the one that really did it for me was Do the Right Thing.
Oh, well now this makes a lot of sense, full circle.
Yeah.
So I did see the Do the Right Thing poster in...
And See Yesterday, yeah. So I had to put it in there as a reference to what's happening because, Rudy Rahim got murdered by police officers. Yeah. And for that scene, it was between those two kids trying to decide what's the best thing to do, what is do the right thing for them. For CJ, it was like, I have to save my brother at all costs. And for Sebastian, it's like, yes, we do, but we have to really be careful of how we jump back in time to do that. And that was a very pivotal scene in that movie to do so. And plus, Spike Lee is my mentor, and I asked him, he was like, yeah.
Such a casual mentor to just have, oh my God. And you won his 2016 grant, right?
Yeah, I won for NYU, this was my thesis film.
Oh, wow.
To graduate from NYU as a director, you have to make a short film or a feature film. And of course I want to do a feature, but my professor's like, you're not ready. So you're going to do a short. And during trying to find financing, Spike rewarded me the 2016 Spike Lee grant for thesis students at NYU. But that's not the only grant that actually helped me to get this film made.
Oh, wow, really?
My mother refinanced her home, so I'd be able to do my thesis film, yeah.
Oh my God, well, and such a theme in the movie, both besides fate, is also the family relationships.
Yeah.
And you see that especially with the daughter-mother scene on the couch when they're watching TV.
Yeah.
And how the I guess relationship kind of switches there, and all of a sudden she's taking care of her mother.
Yeah.
Was that inspired by anything? Are you close with your mom?
I am close to my mom. Yeah, that wasn't really inspired by anything. I just knew who she was as a character. Mm-hmm. And a lot of tragedies, during my research, a lot of tragedies like this, the parents are the ones that kind of, lose it a lot, and the children are the ones who have to hold it together. Especially, with the Black Lives Matter movement. The mother of Mike Brown, she's strong, but there's a lot of times you can see her, breaking down when the grand jury, acquitted, the officer. You can see her breaking down, and the sons have to come in and swoop up and hug her and comfort her and whatnot. And so I think that's where subliminally, I think that's where the inspiration comes from.
And going back to Black Lives Matter, which was also featured in the film, how has that inspired or changed, I guess, since you started your film journey? It seems like you've been creating in this really passionate environment which wants art to show what's happening in life, but it's also still happening. And I know you shot this last year, but
2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, but it's still it could take place today.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
When I first started writing it was a feature film, right?
Yeah.
And it was 2014, the summer of 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
that's when Mike Brown got murdered and Eric Garner got murdered. And not so far off, we had the George Zimmerman trial. He got acquitted for murdering Trayvon Martin. And when I started writing the film, I wasn't really focused on that. I was focusing more of my personal relationship with my family. I had someone in my family that was an alcoholic, and I was watching Back to the Future on repeat.
Another one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, another one. And I was kind of merged drunk driving and time travel together. It was about this kid trying to save his best friend for being hit by a car, who happened to be his father, who was drunk driving. But that summer, when marches was happening and left and right, people getting murdered, it just bled into my script.
Yeah.
It was like one scene. It was like a moment to test the time travel. And my college professor, Pam Katz, wonderful professor, she was like, you cannot, have a scene like that and not follow up with it. It's too strong. It's either you leave it in or take it out. And if you leave it in, you have to focus. That should be the story, and you should focus on it. And I was like, you're right. I want to focus on that.
Well, I mean, it just lends itself to the film, especially because you shoot it in broad daylight. It's not this, what happened, and you have a witness that says, no, I saw he was unarmed, and you hear that as well. And unfortunately, it's just right out of life.
The hardest part about writing this movie, and I had to watch a lot of those footages, and I had to watch a lot of, when Walter Scott got murdered, shot in the back, I had to watch that a lot. I had to watch, how Eric Garner got choked so many times. It becomes daunting because I wanted to see when is the point where police officers feel threatened, and it's often it's just us feeling threatened back, and like, I'm innocent, I didn't do anything, and I'm still trying to figure out. It's all about power, push and pull, for anybody, not just black people, for anybody, when a police officer is present and they're kind of threatening you, and you're trying to be calm, you're afraid for your life, and for them, it's I don't know what it is.
But just like you had to watch that, and you really focus on the characters watching the action both times, not to spoil it, that they go back, and there are these spectacular, slower shots of witnessing the exact moment.
That was hard for the cast.
Oh, I bet.
That was hard. I had to do auditions for at least 3 weeks to get that right.
Wow.
Yeah, that was very hard for the cast. It was a lot of conversation. It was a lot of push and pull. It was a lot. There was the actors who played the cop. They had their interpretation of it, and he was even an argument in the room when we was rehearsing that.
Oh wow.
Oh, it was an argument. It was a blowout. It was a big blowout. He said the cops won't do that. And the kids were like, yes, the cops would do that. It was a big blowout. So it was challenging. But I had to make sure everyone understood. I had to get the cast back together. It's like this is bigger than what we think it is. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to save people's lives with this. I hope it inspires others. Continue the conversation. Especially with the time machine. The time machine is a symbol more than just like a fun device. They go back at time so many times, and if you watch the end, you know what happens. But it symbolizes that no matter what happens, this police brutality will continue to happen.
Yeah. Clearly, you don't avoid politics. I know some artists like to keep that out of their work, but it seems like you not only encourage it, it sets like a climate for your characters. This is a sci-fi film, but it feels like it's not.
Well, with the whole Avengers movies, and Spider-Man and Batman, I love those movies. I grew up with them, but every time, especially today when I leave the theater, except for Black Panther lately, but when I leave the theater, I just feel I'm not really getting anything from it. I'm not feeling encouraged to do anything in my life. It's just like, oh, that was fun. Yeah. There's more. When people spend 2 hours in the theater, you got to leave with something. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying there has to be a big political message, but you have to leave with something. And I never feel that with the Avengers or Deadpool, which is good movies. I have no disrespect, and those movies are hard to make. Very hard to make. I know filmmaking how hard it is, but for me, I have to promise myself that I have to say something, no matter what the movie is. I have to say something.
Besides escapism, which is sometimes like an easy reason why people want to go see movies, but it seems like you want to incite them to.
I want to provide an escape, but you're going to be back in the real world, right? So might as well be encouraged something good when you watch a movie.
Has this idea been with you since you started making films, or did you kind of find it?
I kind of find it. I found it. It's for this particular film, it's been in my mind because when I was studying film in NYU and making my own art, the first thing I wanted to do was action movies. And the professors kind of like discouraged me from doing it because like they just want you to focus on performance. They want to focus on story. They want to have you focus on just learning how to direct actors, and you can't do that if you worry about stunts and special effects and whatnot. That's not the core learning of filmmaking. It's all about life in front of the lens and how well you write and how well you work with the actors. It's the most important thing in learning how to be a filmmaker.
What do you think is the hardest thing?
Knowing language, how to talk to an actor. That's the hardest thing for me. Like sometimes you know what you want. Actually, let me backtrack. Language and being open to what you're seeing in front of you, what actors are giving you. Because too many times directors, they only have this preconceived notion of how an actor's supposed to behave and talk and whatnot and how to move instead of just observing what the actors are doing, because you might have an idea what the character wants, but what the actor does might be something more refreshing than that.
Oh, interesting. So
especially in auditions, like I know a lot of actors and producers, they come in an audition, and that they be dismissive in certain actors and not allow, because they already know who they type they want to cast, who, how tall the person should be, how small the person should be, and I'm like, just focus on here and now. That's the tough part. Is focus on the here and now. Be present and observing.
Do you find that sometimes changes how you see the character as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing, and it's fine. Yeah. It's fine, because at the end of the day, what is believable and what is strong, whatever makes it better for your film, you need that. Steel sharpens steel. Whatever you need to make it better, you need that. And if an actor shows you something better than what you have seen before, it behooves to consider to cast them. What's
your biggest challenge as a filmmaker? Whether it's something that you've always kind of been working on or that's kind of been presented now. I'm just so curious.
Right now it's finding money. Making movies, I ain't gonna lie. You have so many ideas that you want to do, and you have scripts available to you, but nobody knows how to get it financed.
Yeah.
So right now, besides that, I think that's the obvious thing. Besides that, is writing. I can't write on my own. I'm going to be honest about that. I can only write with a co-writer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I could set up an idea, but I need someone to help me bounce ideas off, finesse it. I think a lot of filmmakers don't know that it takes a team to make something good, and even when writing, because not only you're writing, but you need to send that script to so many other people, and and then they will give you notes, and then you have to digest it.
Do you find yourself working with the same collaborators over and over again, or does it depend on the project? How do you find your team?
It depends on the project, honestly, yeah. Because not everybody's gonna vibe with the story. Every project is different.
So how is the writing process for this movie different besides the changes that it went through in terms of content?
When I first started, it's a feature film. And then my professors, I told them for my thesis, I told them I want to make a feature. And they were saying, you're not ready, and understandably so. I said, okay. So I started writing my own. I said, okay, I'm gonna shoot it in September 2015. I had bad producers. I had to fire them. I had to cancel the shoot.
Oh, wow.
I cried for like a week or two. The mother of Ed and Duncan Smith, Nicole Duncan Smith, she prayed for me when I told her, like, I had to cancel because I didn't have the money. I had terrible producers. She prayed for me, and because I was crying, like she could hear me on the phone, and I needed that. So after that, I had to find a co-writer because I was so stressed from writing. Yeah. So I found my co-writer, Frederica Bailey. She was in NYU as well, a dramatic writing program. She's from DC, Maryland area, DMV, excuse me. And she helped. The script got better. It got into what you see today. It was a mess before, and I was going to shoot that, but I wasn't ready. And so I really appreciated, that failure to be better.
Seems like you wear a lot of different hats just to try to make the film happen. I mean, besides writing and then directing, and then having to be your own like business person and in charge of this, company just to get your vision seen. Do you think that's the most frustrating thing besides money as an artist?
You do have to learn how to manage people. It's all about knowing who you need to hire, because you don't ever hire your friends. Don't hire your friends. Sometimes your friends are not. They'll be really lax. They don't really, they'll think they get away with some stuff, and you need them to work. So it's all about knowing who you hire.
Do you have a type of work ethic? Like, what's your, I guess,
Start
normal
early.
process? Start early.
Start early.
Yeah.
I like to wake up around 5 or 6 o'clock every morning, trying to get work done. Sometimes that's when my ideas are fresh, and when you wake up that early, you're able to think of how you can plan out your day and whatnot.
I want to talk about how you can now watch this on HBO. What happened as soon as it was made? Did it just catch on?
It didn't even catch on for like good 6 months. When we finished the movie, we applied in Sundance, Slam Dance, South by Southwest, Tribeca. We didn't get in Tribeca. I was trying so hard to get in Tribeca. We didn't get in. So even Atlanta, Seattle, they didn't even take it. But here comes American Black Film Festival. And that's one of the most prestigious short film programs they have. So there's short film programs called HBO Short Film Competition. Okay. And only 5 films get selected to be in that competition.
Wow, congrats, that's amazing.
Thank you. And those finalists, every finalist get to, or allowed to license their film to HBO. So HBO and ABFF, they book our flights, they fly us down, we walk the red carpet.
Nice.
We get to meet HBO people, and we get to talk to them. We talk about film, talk about TV, get to network with them, and we had a discussion about licensing our films to them.
That sounds so surreal. Were you just I'm doing it. I'm doing this thing.
Yeah. But even doing that, we got the deal, but we had to follow through. There's so much other steps to go through it. But
what was it like talking about it at Gold Star? Did people have any kind of new questions, or?
It was very warm. One of the climax of the scene, there was a very loud hush. You hear a pin drop, but first and foremost, I want to say thank you, Johnny. Yeah. Johnny, I love you. I really appreciate Gold Star. It was a nice community of people coming out to for filmmaking, to support the local artists. I mean, need much of that. But the reception, everybody asks, what's their advice to start being a filmmaker? What's some of the challenges? Like you're asking me, and I always tell people who don't know starting out, just start small. Whatever you have a cell phone, start small. You're not gonna make Inception overnight.
You mean you're not gonna build the thing that
you're not gonna do all that. You're not gonna have street racing, gunfights. You're not gonna have that. Just start small, whatever it is. Your first film is gonna suck. It's inevitable, but it's your first film, and you'll get to learn from it. Like my first film sucked.
What was your first film?
My first film, I did at Morehouse College. Okay. It was 2009, 2010, for a campus movie fest, and it was about this kid trying to save his friend from committing suicide.
Oh wow.
And there's other heinous stuff happening in college right now. Yeah. Unfortunately, not to air dirty laundry, but unfortunately HBCUs, there's dealings with rape culture there, and sometimes the administration is not doing much about it, trying to sweep it under the rug. But in a lighter note, that film sucked, but it was a learning curve for me. It was a learning curve, and I keep making other bad films after that, even in NYU.
Yeah.
Yeah. My second year film. So in NYU, when you make a second year film, you can make any film you want for 10 minutes. You can go anywhere in the world you want. And I choose to do a movie about a kid who robs a bodega because he wanted to save his father from a terrible debt.
Okay.
I thought it was a cool movie. Showed to Spike. He said, "This is trash."
Just so blunt.
Very blunt. He said, "Take out a pen and pad." I said, "Okay. I take out a pen and pad. Okay. Write this down." Okay, I'm writing. This is uncreative. What? Write it down. This is very uncreative. Dialogue sloppy. And it was very endearing. I left that meeting crying. Yeah. But it got me determined to say, I don't want ever hear those words from that man again.
I'm curious about how it started and how close you are now.
With Spike?
Yeah.
I've known him about 8 years now.
How did it happen?
I don't know, I still pinch myself, yeah. With Spike, I met him at Morehouse again. He was there to screen Kobe Doing Work, good ass documentary, Kobe Doing Work. After the screening, I went to Spike and said, "Hey Spike, I would like to have an internship with you." He said, "You want to have an internship, huh?" I said, "Yes, sir, I want to have an internship." "All right, send me your resume. I'll hit you up later." I sent him my resume. I haven't heard anything from him. He came. Then next semester came back to Atlanta. This time he was showing a short film called "Jesus, Children of America" at Clark Atlanta University. Went up to Clark, asked him the same question. "Spike, I want to have an internship with you." "Internship, huh?" "Yes, sir." "All right, send me your resume. I get back to you." Haven't heard shit. So I finally made the film. Finally made my first film there for Campus Movie Fest, and it was me and a couple of other students at Morehouse, and one a good friend of mine, Dr. Love, but his name is Stephen Love. He's actually a producer for The Land. That was the big movie that came out. He went to USC, and me and him and a couple other students, we was trying to make a movie, trying to have a film program at Morehouse, because there was none. It stopped after Spike left, like in '92, whatever. And Spike came to meet me and the students and Dean Mills, and I showed him my film there. And after that meeting, I was at Spike. This is my third time asking for an internship. Hook a brother up.
What did he say? Send me your resume?
Yes. Finally, I got the internship.
Nice.
Because I was very straightforward with him. He could probably heard the angst in my voice. But at that internship, 40 Acres and Mule Filmworks, Fort Greene, Republic of Brooklyn, I worked my ass off. Got yelled at a lot, but I worked my ass off. And when I went to NYU, I asked him to be my mentor, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. You're working with your heroes. That's just
It's
mind-boggling to me. It is unheard of.
It's unheard of. Yeah.
And now you're still working together because you're turning this into a feature film, and is he executive producer?
Executive producer.
Wow.
He flew me out to LA. I met with a lot of companies. I can't tell you which ones yet. I'm like Hollywood execs, God. Big time. I was like, what the hell? And what surprised me the most, they weren't scary like you thought. You like big suits and probably like talk to you real funny, but they don't. They're just like me and you. They're like people. They just really want to make good art, and I got really great notes. So I brought back my writer, Frederica Bailey, back to the project, and she wasn't. And also, she's living in LA right now, and she was in the room with me, and they gave great notes. Took their notes, and the script a lot better now. We're happy with what we have, the script, and we have
the full script.
Full script is ready to go.
Wow.
We're hoping to shoot this year.
Wow. Are you going to shoot in New York? Do you think?
East Flatbush.
Nice.
Brooklyn.
That's important.
Yeah, it is important. So we the script as a feature, it focuses more on the Caribbean people as well. Sebastian, the character, is Caribbean of descent. His grandparents are Caribbean. Every time we see Brooklyn on film these days, it's all about the hipster movement, Williamsburg and whatnot, and it's not the Brooklyn that I grew up knowing. And East Flatbush, Bed-Stuy, the Caribbean people, East New York, we never see that. And I want to shoot on Church Avenue. I want to shoot on Flatbush Avenue. There's a restaurant I really want to shoot in called Sybil's, and they shut that down. Yeah, really, you got your curry chicken, roti, Jamaican, beef patty, cocoa bread.
You should just have them do craft services.
That
will. Seems like what you should do.
No, that's I will. That's going to be a craft services. Yeah.
Ever see yourself doing TV, or would you?
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Hell
sure.
yes.
Where's your stack pilot?
I'm working on one.
Oh, really?
Well, I actually had an idea about a superhero father-daughter superhero team, but Black Lightning took that away.
Oh.
Which is fine. I'm glad that it happened because we needed it. But I'm working on others right now.
How important is film school? But I guess you could do, how important is an arts education?
I'm glad you asked that question because I get that question a lot. I personally, this is just for me personally, I needed to go to film school. I'm from Long Island. I grew up in Brooklyn, moved to Long Island when I was 14. And after Morehouse, my undergrad, I would just go back to home. I have nowhere else to go afterwards. I have nothing really set up. Everybody else went, to other cities. Like, New York is one of them. People went to, work with Morgan Stanley, Chase, all these big, investment firms and whatnot. And that's not me. I know I want to study film. So I applied to a whole bunch of film schools as possible because once you go back to Long Island, there's no outlet to learn film. And what I learned within 3 years of classes in film school would have took me 10 years outside of it. So anybody who's already connected to the industry in some way to learn filmmaking, like say your uncle is a director or your auntie is a screenwriter or your cousin's a producer, you don't really need film school because you already have them. They could, they would teach you the ropes, hopefully. But I didn't have that access, and I wanted to tell stories. I didn't have access to equipment. I didn't have access to actors. I didn't have access to crew. First and foremost, I didn't have no ground base or education to make a film. Nothing. So I don't even know nothing about when I went to film school. When the first day of classes, I told people I don't know shit. I don't know shit, and I pride myself in that because it made me declaring that and listen to my professor telling me how to do it. You crew, you go to every class, you push yourself to learn so much. It teaches you to do sound, it teaches you to do editing, a little bit of production design. What else? Grip, electric, because those skills help me so much. Because when I location scout, one of the first things I notice is sound. Huh. Not everybody would teach you that, and also it makes me appreciative of crew members. Because if I'm crew, I know how well I'm supposed to be treated. Oftentimes crew get treated like freaking dirt. And recently I was on a film shoot, and I had to yell at the producer for not providing good meals for the crew. You're paying them little or no pay, and for breakfast all you offer is bagel and cream cheese? Nah. Get them hot sandwiches, oatmeal. Get them good food. Because crew always be treated like crap. They're the first ones there and the last ones to leave. The rules generally are no more than 12 hours, which is bullshit, because most often it's 14 to 15 hour work days. And whenever it's called wrap, whenever it's called, like say we're from 6 a.m., you get wrap at 6 p.m., but crew is still there till at least 7:30 and have to be back on set on 6 a.m. because they're called wrap at 6 p.m., even though you're still wrapping out. And that's terrible.
I think it's important, though, as a director, that it seems like you know almost every single in and out. The one you're avoiding is acting, but someday.
I'll never do acting. No way.